We are about to embark on an immersive journey through the corridors of our minds. Stand by as we prepare for departure.
Welcome aboard, everyone, to the Productivity with Peace of Mind podcast adventure. Our journey will begin in just a moment. Inhale deeply and exhale. Our voyage takes us on a captivating tour, diving deep into the intricate layers of our thoughts and imagination. Brace yourselves for the complexities of our evolution. For a safe and enjoyable journey, stay seated, secure your helmet and protective goggles, and keep hands, feet, and legs inside while the ride is moving. Now relax and enjoy.
What if I told you achieving even more than we thought possible starts with first slowing down? If we're not intentional about where we want to go, we will absolutely never get there. Today, I want to talk to you about how we can slow down in order to speed up and live with more intention. This is a concept I talk about in everything I do, and to everybody I talk to, it's that important to me. And the only way that we can actually speed up and do more is by slowing down first and thinking through our plan and what we want and that big picture and look ahead so that we can work back, build out a plan, and be prepared for so much more than we would be if we didn't plan for anything or think through any of it ahead of time. There is so much going in and out of our brains every single day, far more than what our brain is actually designed to handle, remember, or even be able to fully process in any meaningful way. And this is why it is up to us to slow down and take the control back ourselves. This can mean starting off a project by taking time to think through all the way to the end and beyond before even getting started. This can mean slowing down and taking space and time to yourself before making a big decision in life. And this can just mean overall slowing down in general, taking on less, thinking about what we're doing, and being more intentional overall. Because I think so many times we just run full speed doing a million things, saying yes to everything and everyone, and we really get nowhere. And this is what it would be equivalent to if you just got in a random vehicle or got on a random plane with no plan, no route, no map, no decision on where you want to go. You would just go maybe all over the place or maybe to the completely wrong place. Today, we'll explore understanding the value of living with more of that intentionality, real, tangible strategies we can apply to our lives on how we can start slowing down now, and the long term impact that practicing productivity in our lives and doing the things that are more meaningful have on us and have on our long term picture. What does it mean to actually live intentionally? I've talked about this with a few people, but there are many phases in our life and chapters and ups and downs, these waves, if you will, that we ride throughout life and through the changing times. And there was a while, especially in my younger years, where every time I reached a dip, I was going in survival mode, not thinking about really where I was going, just figuring out how I could possibly survive, how I'll get through, and whatever sticks, sticks, taking it so that I at least get somewhere. And it wasn't until later in life that I started to figure out, okay, when I get to this dip, I actually have a choice to curate, to be really intentional, to think through my decisions and almost design that next chapter and really curate with what we have, with what we're working with, decide exactly what we want that next chapter to look like and what we want to do. Living with this amount of intentionality in our lives allows us to have more purpose. We know what our values are. We know exactly what our priorities are because we've slowed down to think about that. And if we don't slow down, everything can actually seem like a priority. Everything can seem like a fire and urgent and something that we have to go handle immediately when it's not actually the case. But we don't know that because we haven't thought it through. We haven't looked at the details and figured out what's actually important to be able to say, oh, yeah, this thing over here, no, that's not priority. That can wait till next week or next month or whichever. And it also allows us to have time for our health and our well being. We are taking care of ourselves because we've slowed down and thought through what we need to do, and we're not wasting a bunch of excess time. We have more time for ourselves and our self care, allowing us to go even further. How do we actually put this into practice then? So, how do we begin slowing down? And if you haven't done this at all, and if this is brand new, it can feel like a lot and too big to take on. But consider starting very small with how you apply it, because it could be 5 minutes in the morning for self reflection and introspection and inquiring within what's actually going on. Take a goal setting workshop or take time to get clear on your goals, your values, your priorities. Think through some of these things. So you might ask yourself what you want in 10 years, in 5 years, in 3 years. And I get some of these bigger dreams and some of these bigger questions you need a little bit more time for. But when you start reflecting, even if you start with 5 minutes, you can start asking yourself, what do I want right now? The answers are always inside of you. You know the answer. And so just taking the time to slow down, let the dust settle from within, and listen to those answers and what comes up. And you can absolutely write it down. You can just think through it. You can process it in any way that you want, but taking time to slow down, be alone, no distractions, no phone, nothing else around you, to think and to get clear with yourself will help you find the answers that you're looking for. It's also just a really great way to take care of our minds and nurture our brain health, because the more it can slow down, pause, reflect, and process, the more likely it is to function at a much higher level when you are using it actively for your day-to-day life or the work that you're doing in other projects. And you can also time block it out. So however you're starting off, maybe it's 30 minutes in the morning, maybe it's an hour in the evening, maybe it's 45 minutes on your lunch break in the middle of the day. Wherever you want to block that time, start small but be consistent, make it reasonable, make it something that you can commit to regularly so you don't fall off and stop doing it. But start by blocking something, and over time know that you can adjust this, change this. As always, you can set a end date and check in at that time to see what you need to change. But just testing it out for a while and see how that day or time or amount of time that you've blocked off works for you. And the more we practice this, the better we get, the more we're able to take that time for ourselves to plan and think and prioritize what's important to us, the better we get in our long term success, because we're actually reaching that long term vision and actually working toward it and making so much more strides in the right direction. And I'll encourage you to take some time to define your own vision. What do you want your future to look like? Where do you want to live? Who do you want to be with you? What do you want to be wearing? What smells do you want to be smelling? What sounds do you want to hear? What time do you want to start your day? What do you want to do during the day? How do you want that time to be spent, and what kind of impact do you want to be making? And think about your values as you write these out and you list these out for yourself of what you want that vision to be. If you value flexibility and spaciousness, you're not going to want to have a career that is tied down to a specific schedule, hours, or location. And you're not going to want to build a business in that way either. And in our slow time with ourselves, As we've built out this vision and this bigger picture for ourselves, it's then that we can start breaking them down into goals and then breaking those goals into actionable steps that we can start taking. That's when we start building our own roadmap for our personal success. And we weren't able to have that or get there if we didn't slow down and take the time for it and for ourselves. When we become intentional about what we want and why and how we're going to get there and the person we want to be, we're deciding to commit to be to go reach that thing, we end up saving time, energy, and brain space in the long term because we're getting clear on what we want and we're going after it. Not to mention the deepness and our connections that we get to have, because when we slow down in what we're doing and we've thought through what we're doing, we're being more intentional, and we open up all of this time on our calendar, we have more time to be with the people that we love and care about and be more present with them because we're not worried about something going wrong. We're not worried about something being forgotten. We know it's taken care of. We've taken care of that for ourselves and we are good to go. So we can lean back, kick up our feet, completely exhale all the way out, knowing we're there with the people that we love and nurturing the relationships that matter. Something we must embrace as we slow down is the importance of quality over quantity. I'll say this again and again, and I've said it a million times, but productivity is not about just getting more done, cramming it all in there, and when we look at connections, having a million friends or knowing a bunch of people, the number is not what matters. It's the depth within each connection we have, within each project we work on. Are the things that we are actually bringing across the finish line meaningful and important and make a difference? We just live our life feeling so much more fulfilled when we put our meaningful connections and experiences over busyness and productivity just for the sake of productivity alone. I remember in one of my past careers, I had been working on a project that involved some financial stuff and some software stuff and some IT stuff. And I was at the end of a huge project. I had been running at full speed, working morning to night, 7 days a week. And I just could not figure this one thing out. It took me hours and hours and hours, and I didn't have a solution. And I ended up going and taking 5 days off. And I know this is not always realistic, but sometimes when you need it, and you have to do what you have to do. And so I took 5 days off and rested and took that time for me. And when I came back the next day, after the next day after the 5 days off, I think I fixed it in like 30 minutes or an hour. It was very quick. And I was just shocked and reminded that working more does not equal more value. It is always the value we're outputting, not the time we're putting into it. Slowing down also helps us embrace the journey along the way. It helps us enjoy the process and, as they say, smell the roses. You get to really taste the food and the drinks that you're putting into your mouth. You get to really hear the words of the people speaking to you. You get to look around at the landscape around you and take in the beauty of our world. We get to practice self compassion and love ourselves even when we mess up, even when we do the wrong thing, even when we make a mistake. It's okay. You get to slow down and just love who you are as a human being, mistakes and all. So we can ask ourselves, what can I do to slow down a little more, to be present with myself and the world around me and what's actually happening, live with more intention, and know that the journey along the way is just as important as where I'm going and the destination I've decided for myself. This is how we'll plan and execute our long term success and happiness. We'll slow down initially to speed up long term and get so much more done in the sense of what actually matters and what means the most to ourselves and the value we're adding to the world. Just know, by investing this time and energy in you now, you're creating the path for long term meaning in your life and owning your results. Thank you for braving the inside of your mind with me. The better we understand ourselves, the more deeply we understand the world. And as our awareness grows, life just gets better and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a review and share this with anyone else you think could benefit from listening. A quick reminder that the content shared in this podcast is for informational purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, and the discussions here are not a substitute for professional advice. If you're dealing with a specific issue or need personalized guidance, please consult with a qualified professional. Your well-being is important, and this podcast is simply a platform for sharing insights and experiences. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Until next time.